This is the 32nd Taiku in Talmud Bavli. It's found in Tractate Pesachim, page 48b, with the words Chameshes Rebaim Kemach Ve'od Chayaven B'chala. In those words. Chameshes Rebaim Kemach Ve'od Chayaven B'chala Hachikama Kaba Melogne Nami Ahai Shurachai. Dough made from 5/4 of a log of flour and a bit more obligates one to separate challah. The Gemara answers that this is what Rav is saying. A kav from melogna is the same measure as this, as it is not a regular kav, but a larger measure, identical to the amount from which one is required to separate challah. Amar Rav Yosef, Hanina Shedidan, Nahug Lemeva Kaviza Bhischa. Amar Abaye, my datach lechumra. Chumra deate lide kula hu deka make la machala. Rav Yosef said, these women of our family ordinarily bake kaviza by kaviza, meaning 3/4 of a log at a time on Passover, since it is easier to prevent small quantities of dough from becoming leavened. Abaye said to him, what is your opinion? Do you tell them to do this in order to be stringent? That is a stringency that leads to a leniency, as by working with small quantities one removes the dough from the obligation to separate challah. Amar le de Avdan ke Rabbi Eliezer Tanya. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Harodem noten lasal, asal mitzarfan lachala. Ve'amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel, halacha ke Rabbi Eliezer. Rav Yosef said to him, they do separate challah from the dough, in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, as it was taught in a Braita, that Rabbi Eliezer says, one removes loaves of bread from an oven and places them in a basket. The basket combines them to reach the quantity from which one is required to separate challah. Even if each of the loaves would not attain the necessary measure for separating challah on their own, and Rav Yehuda said that Shmuel said the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. Therefore, the women of Rav Yosef's household would put all the finished matzot into a basket and separate challah from them. Amar le v'ha'itmar alam Amar Yishuv Levi lo yishanu ela kikaros shel Bavel shenoshchot zo mizo aval kachin la ha'itmar ala Amar Rabbi Chanina afilu kachin. Abaye said to him, but wasn't it stated with regard to that Braita that Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said, they taught that a basket combines the loaves only with regard to Babylonian loaves that bite from one another. In other words, the loaves are slightly attached, and when one separates them, a bit from one loaf comes off with the other loaf. However, it does not apply to long rod-like loaves that were baked separately. Therefore, that principle cannot be applied to the case discussed here, in which each batch of matzah was baked on its own. Rav Yosef answered, wasn't it stated with regard to that Braita that Rabbi Chanina said the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, even with regard to long rod-like loaves? This indicates that Rav Yosef accepted the view of Rabbi Chanina. Boy Rabbi Yirmiyah, tav l'she'ela livizbizin ma'u, toch kli beinan, v'haleka odirma avir kli beinan, v'ha'ika teiku. In light of this discussion, Rabbi Yirmiyah raised a dilemma with regard to a board without a rim. What is the halacha? Is it considered to be a vessel that combines loaves baked separately into one unit with regard to challah? Do we require the inside of the vessel in order to combine the loaves? And that is lacking since the board is flat rather than concave. Or perhaps we require the airspace of the vessel, and that is present in this case. The Gemara concludes, let it stand unresolved. This is the 32nd Taiku in Talmud Bavli.